with these people, man. There was a article that came out today on Harold Turner radio saying that the Netherlands has authorized Ukraine to use their weapons that they supply to Ukraine for deep strikes into Russian territory. This is on the heel of the U.S. and the U.K. Openly advocating for this thing. And I want to play a clip at the start of the show because this goes right along with the questioning that I'm saying. I played it on my earlier show, and I want you to listen to this, and I want you to tell me whether or not that they have just declined into total madness with the policies of the Western world. So here is the clip. Right, let's see if it's still up here. I may have deleted it. Okay, here we are. Right here. Oh, oops. I'm sorry.
So, U.S. President Joe Biden says Washington is working out the details to give Kiev the green light to strike deep into Russian territory, an act of war previously banned by America.
Will you lift restrictions on the use of long-range weapons by Ukraine?
We're working that out right now.
Well, it's a big political game, if you will, with human lives being as game pieces in this particular situation, because weapons of all kinds have been used by Ukraine to attack Russian territory. And hundreds, if not thousands, of civilians have already been killed in Belgorod, in Donetsk, in Zaporozhye, Kherson, and other areas of Russia. Now, they are saying that this is going to be a big game changer if Ukraine is allowed to do long-range strikes. But really, this is all, of course, happening while the State Secretary of the United States, Anthony Blinken, is about to visit Ukraine along with his UK counterpart, David Lammy. So they're making this big tour for the press.
It's one thing to talk about supplying these long-range weapons and giving Kiev the green light to strike deep inside Russian territory, but we all know that up and down the front lines, the Ukrainian offensive and the Ukrainian military is just collapsing right now. And you've spent so much time near the front lines, all up and down the region. I mean, what can you tell us?
Well, at the moment, the front line for Ukraine, for example, in the republics of Donbas, in Lugansk and Donetsk, it's completely collapsing. Right now, every single day, Russian army is making gains in Donetsk People's Republic, for example. Over the last 24 hours, they gained at least 130 square kilometers of territory. Yeah. And about these type of news, they go muted in the Western world, and nobody talks about that. But what they like to talk about is how to use long-range missiles deep into Russian territory. But how is that going to change the situation? It's very unclear because, and once again, this is all a big game, a lot of saber rattling, if you will, but with absolutely nothing behind it. For example, we have another soundbite here from the Defense Secretary of the United States, Mr. Austin, who confirms what I just said, that these long-range missiles will not make any change. Let's take a listen.
We've said all along, Uta, there's no one capability that will, in and of itself, be decisive in this campaign. You know, we had this discussion about tanks. We had this discussion about other capabilities. And each time we point out that it's not just one thing, it's a combination of capabilities and how you integrate those capabilities to achieve objectives. So I don't believe that one specific capability is going to be decisive.
One thing that everybody tends to forget about in this situation is the cost of all this, and the cost is human lives. Civilians die every single day in Russia as a result of these attacks. But if this situation goes through and Ukraine is officially allowed to use ATACMS deep into Russian territory, and we have the example of them, of their terrorist attacks where a lot of civilians are getting killed, and Russia is forced to respond, what is that going to lead to eventually? And it's not going to lead to peace, that's for sure.
So what is your take on that? It seems like we're spiraling down that yellow brick road to all-out confrontation and war, because if this was Russia arming like rebels that want to free Texas from U.S. control that were residing in Mexico. Mexicans that want Texas back part of Mexico, and Russia decided to hand over some Iskander missiles or some cruise missiles, then the United States would take that as a declaration of war. So what is going on?
Well, it does appear to be that the lunatics have really taken over the asylum, right? I mean, you think that there's so many reminders of the unwinnability of a nuclear war that would easily escalate in a pinch if this is pushed on, and they're pushing only harder and harder, regardless of the warnings that the Russians have made. The fact that the Russians have modified their nuclear doctrine and have made the point that if they feel existentially threatened, they will be forced to utilize their nuclear warhead capabilities. Now, Russia has, as well, since 2018, Putin has unveiled wave after wave of evidence that next generation hypersonic missiles that far outpace anything which those computer programmers managing the Rand Corporation game theory scenarios that have gamed out all of these different scenarios utilizing probability theory that has allowed them to conclude that, okay, there's a 30% chance that we could win a nuclear war by destroying all of Russia's ICBM silos, and the same thing for China, which has built something like 300 in the past 4 years. There's like a 30% chance of this, and then a 40% chance that there'd be this amount of collateral damage in Europe and our other partners, but that's okay, so you've got these crazy people who have no attachment to their humanity, who have been trained over decades at thinking like human computers, that are making policy for the United States. And it seems like instead of just negotiating or having like a human to human discussion the way JFK did in the times of crisis of the Cuban Missile Crisis, where he was able to pick up a phone and talk to another human being on the other side of the Iron Curtain. There's none of that capability, it seems, within the governing strata of the West when they're challenged, or when their doctrine of full spectrum hegemony is being challenged by very powerful nations that want nothing to do with that. So, you have like Biden, whatever the hell he is at this point, meeting up with Keir Starmer. And they're supposed to meet on September 13th, right, to discuss like whether or not that they're going to also allow Kiev to utilize especially the U.S. long-range precision missiles that could be used to be struck deep into the heart of Russian territory. We already know that there's Anglo-American, French, and other foreign legionnaires operating within the Kievan military that were exposed, for the last 2 years, but big time in the invasion of Kursk, where you heard, recording after recording of foreign voices obviously being put into the face of the Russians, just as a reminder that, yeah, by the way, this isn't about Ukraine. This is about all of NATO. We're all at war with you. We all want to destroy you. So I don't know if they're still playing I guess they are. They're still playing this nuclear game of chicken, presuming that that's what this is just another game theory, another game model that you can just play. And they don't realize that it's not a video game. This is reality. The people who are making the video games or these scenarios have children, have families, I presume, that will die, and they don't seem to have that connection that this thing on the computer screen that's making reality, it's shaping reality. They don't realize that this is totally destroying their families. So that's a crisis intellectually that is concerning to me. But yeah, sure, huge.